So thank you very much for attending today to hear about Excellon Resources. Excellon has actually been in production since 2005 on the Platosa mine in the state of Durango, Mexico. It was brought to us by Peter McGaw back in the mid-90s. We made the discovery in 96 and brought it to production in 2005. It's been Mexico's highest grade silver producer since that time. Last year did about 2 million silver equivalent ounces. Lots of room to grow that resource, about 5 years of mine life left. But in the spring of last year, we realized with gold moving through 1375, 1400, that the gold bull market was back on. So we looked at a host of assets through the Western US, and that culminated in the acquisition of Otis Gold in April of this year, about 6 weeks ago. And Otis has an asset called the Kilgore project in eastern Idaho, which 1 million ounces, 0.5 gram oxide gold. And what this transaction does for us, it really transforms the company. We become significantly leveraged to precious metals. We go from 50-50 base and precious to over 90% precious metals, and increases our resource base by well over 500%. Focusing on the asset more significantly, the economics here are excellent, and the growth potential is excellent as well. And that growth potential is something that drew Agnico Eagle to the company back, or to Otis back in 2017, investing $5 million with really the prospect of seeing a 3 to 5 million ounce potential on this project. So we also see that potential, and that fits in well with our exploration portfolio. A number of assets to go through. The one that we're going to focus on today is our Silver City asset in Saxony, Germany. So you probably haven't heard about a silver asset in Saxony, Germany today. So we're going to go through that asset. It's a really interesting one. And we also have an initiative to uplist to the NYSE. That's in process right now. I'm going to be working on that over the next 4 to 8 weeks or so. So acquiring Otis made a lot of sense in this market. An unfinanced developer had a market cap of around 12, 15 million at the time. We acquired it for around 22 million in shares, or less than $20 US an ounce. You pair that with a junior producer like us, also trailing the market, and you create really a growth pipeline at the right stage in this bull cycle. So now you look at Excellon, you've got direct exposure to the silver price from Platosa. And that's a key aspect of this bull cycle. Those gold assets are really driving the precious metal cycle forward, hopefully over a decade or longer cycle on this one. But silver is like the fireworks or nitroglycerine, I think, in the space. When the silver gold ratio moved below 110 through 100, right now it's around 96, 97. Haven't looked at it for the past 5 minutes. Excellon moved from 45 cents all the way up to $1. So tremendous leverage to that metal price. Now we put a good gold development asset in the middle of the pipeline. Very good IRR on this project. Very excellent NPV at $1,700 gold, and significant growth potential. And Ben's going to talk about it, but the analogy here is a Round Mountain style deposit. 15 million ounce produced since 1977. That's the kind of setting that we have at Kilgore. And then that fits in well with our exploration portfolio, including Silver City. The board of directors and management right now, 4 coming over from Excellon, Andre Laurie, Andrew, and myself, and then Craig Lindsay and Roger Norwich coming over from Otis. I'd point out Mike Timmons joining the team. He was actually VP Corporate Development at Agnico for years, was leading corporate development when Agnico invested in Otis back in 2017. Great strategic thinker, huge asset on the board going forward as well. On the management side, I've been with the company since 2012. And Ben and I were at a company called Pelangio before that, which spun off Detour Lake in 2007. Huge returns for our shareholders over the subsequent period. Ben went to Rocks Gold, brought Yaramoko to commercial production in 2016 with the great team there. Anna Ladd-Kruger joined us from Trevally in the middle of last year. Was at Trevally from the very early days to a market cap of over $1 billion, and was at Kinross and Vale before that. Craig Ford was at Inmet for 15 years, had a large hand in getting Cobre Panama off the ground, now one of the world's best copper projects, and that culminated in the acquisition of Inmet by First Quantum for $5 billion. And Alan Roberts was at Otis for 1.5 years, 2 years. Great geologist, ex-Randgold and Barrick, and finally going to have the capital to really advance the Kilgore project forward. So we're in 3 jurisdictions now: Mexico and Durango and Zacatecas, Idaho, and in Saxony, Germany. So in Idaho, great state to be in. Of course, you have the famous Silver Valley up in the northern part of the state. Silver mines for over 100 years mined there. In the 80s and 90s, lots of gold production. That kind of dwindled, I guess, as gold prices suffered in the late 90s. But now you've got Midas bringing stibnite back. You've got Integra developing at DeLamar. And our CFO is actually on the board there and chair of the audit committee. You've got Liberty at Black Pine. You've got Revival Gold at Bear Track Arnett. And then with our acquisition of Otis, we have Oakley and Kilgore. Oakley is 150,000 ounces, half a gram oxide. It's actually in a joint venture with Centerra Gold right now. They're spending up to $7 million over the next 6 years exploring that project. So good to see that interest from a significant mid-tier gold producer into Idaho. Kilgore, 1 million ounces at half a gram oxide. But two real reasons we're significantly focused on this project and interested in it and completed the Otis acquisition. The first is economics. I'll go through that. Very strong PEA. And then the second is that growth upside. So some of these drill results, 95 meters at 4.2 grams per ton, 31 meters at 5.4 grams. These sit below the oxide part of the deposit in the Aspen layer. And they really kind of point the direction towards that 3 to 5 million ounce potential in that Round Mountain style setting. So Ben's going to walk through that in a couple slides. The PEA put out in August of last year, very resilient project, 34% after-tax IRR at $1,300 gold. Now seeing $1,700 gold, and you're looking at an NPV of $260 million, an IRR of over 70% after tax. And looking at the project more closely, capex here, $81 million, so very manageable for a company of our size. But what that gets you is 110,000 ounces of production over 5 years. So that key capex spend at the beginning, getting you that 110,000 ounces of production, really our goal here from an initial exploration perspective is add years to that mine life. Get it to 10 years at 100,000 ounces a year, and then be looking towards a development decision. Other upside potential that we see, well, you can see a very good strip ratio, 1.1 to 1. Recoveries, 82% crushed and 50% run of mine. Excellent recoveries for an oxide deposit, but recent studies suggest we can get over 90% on crushed material. The silver contribution, minor but not yet modeled, and I think as we get deeper into the system, we're going to see a significantly greater silver contribution to the project. So I'll turn it over to Ben to talk about how we grow this and what we think the bigger potential is in due course.
Yeah, I really like this image because the first thing that pops out at you here is the scale. Is from the east to the west side of this deposit you have, or of this image, you have 12 kilometers to play with, and you can see the box there, which we have the current million ounce resource. 600 meters by 500 meters, really not taking up a lot of that real estate. This is a very exciting project. The current resource is constrained by geology. It's constrained by drilling, not by geology. There's a lot of places to go and to drill and to grow that. And then what really excites me beyond that is the potential not only to grow this resource, but to find the next Kilgore or the other one after that that you can see there marked by K1, K2, or K2, K3, and K4. This is the pedigree of this project. This is the reason that people like Agnico invest in this project. And this is the reason that we're so excited about it, to go and to find a project these days where you can put 3 to 5 million ounces together in a good jurisdiction becomes a very compelling asset. And when you can start to point to economics and a life of mine of over 10 years at a run rate of over 100,000 ounces a year, it really becomes one of those like best-in-class, world-class assets. And backfilling it with exploration is what we do, and we're really excited to go and do that and continue to advance this project. If you look at the next slide, very simple graphic, but what I really like about this next slide is just it does speak to the simplicity of this asset. Another reason why we're excited about it. Everything is pretty straightforward. For that near surface mineralization of 0.2 grams to a gram, those are those high margin ounces. You crush them, you throw them or you don't even crush them, you blast them, you throw them on the heap leach pad, high margin, low cost, and there's a lot more of that to be found. You can see how the deposit remains open to the west there, the left-hand side of the image here, very low strip rate and a lot more of that to be found. The next and the most compelling thing I think about this slide is when you start to look at, Brendan pointed out the Aspen layer, that orange line there sweeping from the bottom left of this image to the right. There is where we've seen the hints, the kind of the smoke, the clues about the core of the system and what that's going to look like. Epithermally speaking, the nice thing about these deposits is they're very well studied. So there's a lot of markers that we could look for and a lot of things that we want to see as we explore here. And seeing those big aspen intersections, basically starting at 120 to 250 meters below surface, so still pretty close to surface, seeing those big intersections and starting to see the changes in silicification, the increase in silicification, and the introduction of things like silver to the system really points towards where we want to go with the core of the system and what we're expecting to find there. And if we can continue to find more of that, find that higher grade, well-constrained core, then the resource starts to grow very quickly in this area, and we really do start to move from that 1 to 2 and then plus 3 million ounce scale on this deposit. And that's what we see happening going forward. And then as we step out and rekindle the regional exploration effort, we do see a lot of regional potential in that. There has been work done by previous operators like Platosa and other guys that were active back in the day. Everywhere that they've gone on this property or has historically been explored, there is mineralization near surface that hasn't been followed up on. So we're excited about that, and that is where you really see that step up from the 1 to 2 million ounces here, and you add another one that you really start to see that pathway going from 3 to 5 million ounces near surface in a really good jurisdiction.
So right now we're building the team here. We're advancing the studies, putting forward a plan of operations over the next little while, and looking to be drilling here kind of late this year and into next year. So really exciting opportunity, and we're going to be working here for quite some time. So we're going to go down to Mexico now, down to the Platosa mine. And as many of you know, Mexico was on suspension from April 1st to June 1st, but we're back ramping up production now. I think we had our first blast yesterday, which was quite positive. But 4 things we want to focus on as we restart production. The first, opportunities to significantly reduce costs. The first, reduce electricity prices. So we're entering a private market for electricity now. That's going to see our electricity prices go down by around 40+%. That represents about 40% of OPEX, so big savings there. Labor, we've had some good discussions with our union and have managed to reduce our labor costs quite significantly. Treatment charges, globally, treatment charges have gone up significantly in recent years. The market has changed a little bit in recent months, so we're looking at opportunities to have a better deal there as well. And then the fourth are general optimizations, those 5, 10, 15, 20% savings in various areas of the operation that really do add up. So we want to get this project back operating at a much more economic level than it has been recently, and excited to do that. That's something to look forward to over the next couple months. Now, in the interest of time, I will point out, here's our chart relative to silver, up 150% since January 2016, silver up 22%. So that, immediate exposure to the silver price through production does generate huge returns, particularly as we start to see uptrends in the silver price. Now we're going to move through Evolucion quickly. Our mill is there. We have a toll milling arrangement with Hecla for ore from their San Sebastian mine. Right now in metallurgical testing to put in a copper circuit in due course. I think as metal prices rebound, that's going to accelerate a bit as well. But a very positive arrangement for us down at the mill. We also have a new zone that we're moving towards a resource over the course of the year at Lechuzas. So keep an eye out for that later this year. But we want to get to our Silver City project. And this is a very interesting project that we optioned from a company called Globex back in September of last year. It's in Germany. I'm not sure how many people have invested or know that much about mining or exploration in Germany, but a really fascinating place to be in. You look at Europe, you've got huge zinc mines in Ireland, you've got great gold mines run by Agnico up in Finland, big base metal mines in Sweden, gold and base metals in Spain, big gold mines all through Eastern Europe, Dundee Precious Metals, great silver mines in Poland. And then in Germany, you have a history of mining that really was legendary for the best part of 1,000 years. And our Silver City project, it's 164 square kilometers, just northeast of the town of Freiburg, 36 kilometers of strike. And it was mined from the 11th century through to the late 19th century. And mining stopped after the Franco-Prussian War when Germany got a huge settlement in gold from the French and moved off the silver standard to the gold standard. So a lot of those miners went over to Mexico and the US, actually founded Peñoles Grupo México Fresnillo and started commercializing, those even richer, or those, the Fresnillo silver trend, now the richest silver belt in the world. And in Germany, in Saxony, history took over. So the sweep into World War I, the Weimar Republic depression, World War II, and then this becomes part of East Germany. And the focus is really on those base and industrial metals: tin, tungsten, wollastonite, lead, zinc, big copper mine up here, huge coal mines along the northern part of the state, but really no focus on precious metals. It wasn't until 2011, when the Helmholtz Institute was founded in the town of Freiburg, that the focus started coming back to exploration. The Helmholtz Institute, founded by the German and European governments, high technology solutions for mining and exploration, both globally and in Germany as well. And it was put in Freiburg because Freiburg has the oldest mining and metallurgical university in the world. So we sit in an area that's just rife with history of mining and exploration and high-grade silver, with an academia that is, some of the best in the world at geology and technological solutions for mining. And it's never been drilled. It was mined up until the 1870s, and now we have the opportunity to drill it for precious metals for the very first time. So I'll turn it to Ben to talk about what we expect to see there.
Yeah, and in keeping with a theme of scale here, when you look at that, you can see kind of like the seal-shaped outline of the license that we have there. 164 square kilometers, 36 kilometers along strike. And to put that into perspective, if you were to take that shape and drop that into Mexico, and you've heard a lot of good Mexican stories today, but drop that into the Fresnillo silver trend, that would cover the majority of the ounces found and produced between Zacatecas and Fresnillo over the last 100 years. So this is a huge license. The other thing that's very cool about this is we have it to ourselves. There's no other people around this license. There's no competition. We have most of the really high-grade historical mines along this peripheral part of the Freiburg trend locked up. And when you start to look at the table in the top left-hand corner there, and you look at the historical grades and widths that were reported and have been recorded in in kind of like the mine registry and the archives, it starts to get really exciting. Looking at stuff from 70 centimeters through to 2.5 and even 10 meters of 1,000 grams or a kilo per ton silver, up to 4.5 kilos per ton silver. This was an area in which significant high-grade silver was produced, and then, as Brendan has said, being kind of like lost in the tale of history. We're really excited to be out there reinvigorating this area, and we're even more enthusiastic about the partnerships that we have with the University of Freiburg, who have spent hundreds of years studying mineralization around here, doing the high tech and the late stage exploration science that goes hand in hand with what we want to do, being able to see and touch the rocks and understand the system in more detail. And it really is a phenomenal system. If we go to the next slide, you can actually see some of the rocks. These are samples that were taken 150 years ago by students from the University of Freiburg and have been kept on display in the mineralogical archives. And you can see what we're looking for here. Super high grade veins, mineralization actually going into the wall rock as well. A lot of recent work done on that kind of stuff, but high grade veins. And the key thing is here, the numbers that I'm quoting for silver, those are just silver numbers. Those do not include any base metal credits. Pre-industrial revolution, there wasn't a lot of use for base metals, but we know that it's there, and we look forward to seeing what that contribution is over time. But what we're looking to achieve here is to get a drill rig turning in the next month or so, to be able to start to follow up on where these historical mines finished off, put some holes into this area, and start to look for rocks in core that look like what we just showed you there. The target for us here is like anything from 1 meter to 10 meters of kilo to 2.5 kilos per ton silver. If we're successful in this endeavor, I think this becomes one of the most exciting silver exploration stories on the planet right now. This slide that you're looking at now is just a really good compilation of all the reasons that we like this project. You can see at surface rolling farmlands, big industrial farming activities. This area is an industrial area. Small and light industry make up the majority of the activity around here. There's big hard rock quarries in the area. So mining, in one form or another already exists in this part of the world. Large support from the Oberbürgeramt, which is the mining regulator, who has sat in the same office since the 1650s in downtown Freiburg. You can almost walk from their office onto this project. And then the amazing work that has been done in keeping and recording all this We've been able to take those old workings, take the old drawings, register them into 3D, and create the image that you see there with dilation zones and everything modeled in, and then work like fluid inclusion studies and petrography and deportment studies to really help us understand the system a little bit better as we get out there and start targeting the extensions of this and new areas with drilling this summer. So a very exciting and compelling project that it's a great privilege to be part of and to be working on. In addition to that, we've done a lot of, there's been some mag work, some IP, soil geochemistry. Everything that we've done on this project so far points to the same thing. This is time to, it matches up. It looks like what it should, and now it's time to get the drill steel out and have a look and see what this looks like in core.
We also just signed a research and development agreement with the Helmholtz Institute, which I mentioned earlier. And basically, we share our core, our data with the Institute, and we get to use the benefit of their toys and technology. So hyperspectral core scanning, they're developing new forms of geophysics reviews with drones. So some really fascinating stuff. And I think it's going to be a very mutually beneficial arrangement for us going forward. And they want to see this project move forward and be successful as well. So really exciting. We're aiming to announce our drill permit over the next little while and hope to be drilling here by the next 3 or 4 weeks or so. So it's really an opportunity to turn back the clock 150 years. It's like going to Fresnillo in the 1870s before anybody showed up to commercially mine it and have a fresh crack at drilling these incredibly high-grade silver epithermal systems. So I know we're kind of a little bit short on time. What we'll close with is part of the Mining Association of Canada and the Mining Safety Roundtable. And certainly, the response to the COVID pandemic is on top of everybody's mind right now. We were implementing systems and processes in late February to prevent the spread and ensure that our people remain safe and healthy. So far, we've been successful, but it's a challenge. And I think we're all in the mining industry facing that challenge. And we just have to do everything we can to kind of prevent the spread and keep it out of the communities as well as best we can. So capital structure now, 156 million shares outstanding. As we noted, we're looking towards an NYSE listing at some point over the next little while. We have shareholder approval to do a share consolidation of between 5 and 10 to 1 to support that application. So look for that in due course. Cash at the end of April of 10 million US. A Sprott bridge loan that's due in September. So we're looking to refinance that right now. Lots of options to do that in this market. And Eric Sprott's actually a big shareholder, around 13%. Agnico coming over from the Otis side and supportive of the deal, and looking forward to working with them on Kilgore in the future as well. So catalysts to look forward to over the next little while: drilling permit at Silver City, getting drilling there, looking forward to assays there kind of over the course of the summer. Probably earliest would be around August. Working on this NYSE listing that's going to generate huge liquidity for the stock, value for our shareholders. Q2 is a wash for production in Mexico for pretty much all the Mexican silver and gold producers. But by the time we put out financials, we should have a good attack on where our costs are going. That's going to be exciting to look forward to as well. Evolucion moving towards a resource later in the year, big bulk tonnage silver lead zinc zone, and Kilgore pushing that forward, building the team, and really re-envisioning that exceptional asset that we're going to be working on for years to come.